EU ministers have approved plans to establish a naval force to combat people smugglers operating from Libya. The aim is to launch the operation next month, with a headquarters in Rome under an Italian admiral, EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini said. The EU is struggling to cope with a surge in illegal migrants from Africa and the Middle East crossing the Mediterranean Sea to reach Europe. Ms. Mogherini was speaking after talks with EU foreign and defence ministers. The UK is playing the lead role at the UN Security Council in drafting a resolution that would give the EU a legal basis for using military force against people traffickers. There would be 3 phases in the naval operation, the EU Foreign Policy Chief explained. Intelligence gathering on smugglers. Inspection and detection of smugglers' boats. Destruction of those boats. It is not so much the destruction of the boats but the destruction of the business models of the smugglers' networks themselves, she explained. Ms. Mogherini stressed that cooperation with officials in Libya, a country torn apart by feuding militias, would be vital to make the operation succeed. We are looking for a partnership. There is a responsibility the Libyans themselves have to take on their territory, for the land and sea borders. The EU would have to work closely not only with the recognized government in Tobruk, represented at the UN, but also with rival officials in Tripoli and Misrata, to dismantle the smuggling networks, she told a news conference in Brussels. The Libyan municipalities might have an important role to play, she said. The Mediterranean mission will be led by ADM Enrico Cretendino, an Italian commander who ran the EU's anti-piracy mission off Somalia, Operation Atalanta. More than 1,800 migrants have died in the Mediterranean in 2015. That is a 20-fold increase on the same period in 2014. Disrupting the people smuggling networks is part of a wider EU plan for tackling the migration crisis. The European Commission has urged EU states to adopt national quotas for housing migrants, to ease the pressure on Italy, Greece, and Malta. The EU also aims to tighten cooperation with migrant transit countries in Africa, to make it easier to send economic migrants home. Too many irregular migrants with no right to asylum manage to stay in Europe, the Commission says. Some 60,000 people have already tried to make the perilous crossing from Libya this year, the UN estimates. Many are fleeing conflict or poverty in countries such as Syria, Eritrea, Nigeria, and Somalia. The mission could mean operating in areas controlled by a potentially hostile Islamist militia, and EU forces taking considerable risks to destroy boats and infrastructure used by smugglers. The EU's Operation Atalanta off Somalia is regarded as a model for the new Mediterranean mission. In 2012 EU forces raided Somali pirate bases on land. A UN mandate that allows EU operations on Libya's coast would require a Chapter 7 UN resolution, and Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has already cautioned against a military solution.